Kyle Rittenhouse has gotten destroyed because of comments he made about President Trump from the same people that have supported him for a really long time. But is Kyle Rittenhouse right in what he said about Donald Trump's stance on guns? I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about the alternative. Let's see what Donald Trump really thinks about firearms. And you may find it surprising that some of the most pro-gun presidents out there may not be as pro-gun as what you actually think. We're going to talk about all of this, and of course this is just my opinion, and I want to hear yours after the video. Let me know what you think. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. So Kyle Rittenhouse recently had this to say on X about President Trump.
A lot of people are upset that I said I'm going to be writing in Ron Paul for President of the United States. And that is true. I will be writing in Ron Paul. Unfortunately, Donald Trump had bad advisors making him bad on the Second Amendment, and that is my issue. If you cannot be completely uncompromisable on the Second Amendment, I will not vote for you. I support my decision, and I have no takebacks.
12 to 14 hours, whatever it was, he reversed those statements really quickly. So he got a lot of backlash over this. I think he lost 45,000 subscribers or followers in one day. Now it looks like he's since started to recover and he's back on the positive as far as followers since retracting those statements. But the thing about this is you got to look at it from people that have supported him over the years. Donald Trump obviously heard about this. He had his take. He said that he shouldn't have never been charged. MAGA supporters raised millions of dollars for him, right? For legal fees, to bail him out. I mean, they really stepped up. And he's kind of been the most perfect contrast to somebody like David Hogg, right? Really young guy. Kyle Rittenhouse looked at as somebody that will protect the Second Amendment, while David Hogg is, well, David Hogg. So I can see why people think this would be a stab in the back, considering how much support he got from Trump and his supporters. And it really kind of hoisted Kyle Rittenhouse into a position of fame, right? 1.2 million followers on X. That's pretty freaking impressive. But is Kyle Rittenhouse right about Trump and Trump's willingness to kind of be a little shaky on the Second Amendment? Well, when we look at Trump's policies from when he was president, there were some kind of concerning things there, right? He supported red flag laws, which is absolutely terrible for anybody that knows about the Second Amendment, about guns, anything like that. All it takes is a pissed off neighbor that hates guns, or, an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife that says, hey, I think this guy's a danger, and they can literally take your guns. There was a statement by Trump, take the guns first, and ask questions later, something to that extent.
Or might take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early. Like
the bump stock ban after the Las Vegas shooting, right? Now, these are not great looks for Donald Trump to people that are not a single inch type of Second Amendment supporters. There are different levels of these people. If you don't know anything about, guns and gun rights and people that support them, there are the absolute don't give an inch. And there's a reason for that. It's not because we're stubborn about gun rights. It's because if you start to pick those little things away, red flag laws are big, mind you. Bump stocks, for instance. If you get rid of those, and it goes through and it's not overturned, well, then you could maybe go after any number of features on this gun, and they just start picking them away because they realize that they can do it. That's why you'll see so much resistance to any type of gun control. So yeah, Donald Trump did have a bit of a wishy-washy stance on the Second Amendment at times. Now he is supporting SCOTUS's decision, which actually overturned the bump stock ban. The thing with SCOTUS right now is Donald Trump appointed 3 of those conservative judges to the Supreme Court. The same Supreme Court now that overturned his bump stock ban. Not only that, I think total he appointed 234 conservative judges in total. So that's a really big number. And he helped protect the Second Amendment in a way for a really long time, especially with the Supreme Court. So just like everything that Trump does, his rhetoric doesn't always match what he actually does. I think sometimes he will say something and it'll be like a quick, just kind of emotional response, but then when you see his policies on guns, you start to get a little bit different feel for that, for the most part. Remember, in 2020, when the pandemic was going on, he made gun stores an essential business, right? So they would not be shut down so people could still defend themselves. Things got really bad there for a while with BLM protests and all of that. That's where the whole Rittenhouse case came from, you know, when he was in Kenosha. There was a lot of civil unrest. You get a lot of people at home and they have to stay at home and then they go out, you know, in the streets, and it was crazy, right? So he kept gun stores open and operational at that time. He's vetoed several bills that would have passed, like universal background checks, increasing the waiting period from 3 days to 10 days for FBI to do their background checks. Also, after Parkland, he did support teachers being able to conceal carry. They get their permits, they get their training, whatever's needed in their state, and they can be able to protect kids instead of having kids in a gun-free zone, right, where every single thing that's important to us we protect with people with guns, except for our most precious, which is kids. That is something that he supports, and I support 100% too, is having good teachers that are willing to obviously sacrifice themselves for kids. We almost hear about this in every school shooting where there's a teacher that really became a hero for saving kids. These same teachers would be willing to get a permit to carry their gun to really be able to protect their kids.
This is not a gun problem. This is a mental health problem. This is a social problem. This is a cultural problem. This is a spiritual problem. A new tax credit to reimburse any teacher for the full cost of a concealed carry firearm and training from highly qualified experts. Who's better?
That's a pretty big deal. And let's not forget, he got shot in the ear and said he was not coming after guns or anything like that. So the man got shot, and he still upheld his end of the deal, and has for the most part on firearms. I understand there's a couple of lapses there that look really, really bad, but he switched position on them. Now, when we look at him versus Kamala, that's a whole different story. She has reversed her position on this as well, but she adamantly supports going door to door to round up your guns. It will be like an Obama 2.0 administration. Now, if you remember, Obama talked a lot about gun control, which a lot of Democrats do, right? They talk a lot about it. You know, it's a knee-jerk response after any number of tragedies or whatever. One of the positive things that Obama actually did is he was the best gun salesman ever, because every time he would open his trap about guns, they would sell out. Now, this is when I started this channel. I was waiting in line for 9mm. 3 boxes is all you could buy back then, right? So it was pretty significant. Gun stores were doing really well back then, so that is something to consider. Kamala will be an absolutely terrible decision. And anytime you write in a name Ron Paul or your dog or your mom or whatever, you're potentially giving votes to somebody that will absolutely come after guns 100%. And if they don't get legislation passed, right, then they will make it harder for Americans to get guns, because every time they open their mouth, it will be like a buying frenzy. So that is not something that you want, that I want. And trust me when I say Donald Trump is 1,000% better when it comes to gun rights than Kamala Harris. There's not even a comparison. So if you really do care about that, there's one person to vote for in 2024. I'm not telling you who to do. I'm just saying, if you care about it, Donald Trump is the way to go when it comes to gun rights. But how is he compared to other past presidents? Well, if we look at somebody like George W. Bush, he said he would absolutely extend the assault weapons ban that was passed by Bill Clinton in 1994. Now, that bill never reached his desk, fortunately, but he said he was either willing to extend it or pass it permanently. Now, he did some other stuff that was not great constitutionally as well. We're not going to talk about here, but for the most part, he generally supported gun rights. What about somebody like Ronald Reagan? Ronald Reagan is looked at as like a Second Amendment advocate, one of the biggest Second Amendment advocates when it comes to United States presidents. But don't forget that after he left office, he vocally supported the Brady Bill and the assault weapons ban in 1994. And the Brady Bill still has lingering effects even to this day. So it's not like he never went against the Second Amendment. And even the 1986 Firearm Owners Protection Act, it did a lot of great things for gun owners, but it also banned fully automatic weapons, right? Made before 1986. So now if you want to enjoy those types of guns, you have to have really deep pockets and you have to go through special licensing and all that to even get those. So he wasn't 100% for the Second Amendment as well. Understanding that in this election cycle, those are the two choices that we really have. If you do a write-in, if you vote for a third party, as much as we can talk about how much that sucks that there's only two parties, those are the options. And Donald Trump 100%, 1,000%, 10,000% will be better in protecting the Second Amendment than Kamala ever will. And I encourage you to look at the policies that Trump has placed as opposed to sometimes what he says when he takes a step back. He walks those things back and he means it. The other thing is, we don't want to be people that are a part of cancel culture, right? If somebody comes out and they apologize, like Kyle Rittenhouse did, I think we should accept that. Say, hey, dude, that was a bad take. Move on. You apologized, and there you go. That's my opinion. The last thing we want to do is become the party that cancels people for saying something, outrageous. If that's, one or two bad takes that they've ever had, it's like, okay, come on, dude. Donald Trump has had some bad takes. I've had some bad takes. You've had some bad takes. If you share them publicly, sometimes you're going to have some bad takes. But if we apologize and say, hey, dude, that was really stupid of me to say that, then accept it and move on, because that to me is a much better way of handling controversy like this than saying, oh, you're canceled, unfollowed, yep, you're an idiot, no more support for you. So there you go. That's my opinion on Kyle Rittenhouse and the Donald Trump saga. Again, my opinion, there is only one clear-cut choice if you care about the Second Amendment this November. I'd love to hear your opinion, though. No matter if you agree or disagree, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Big thanks to you guys for joining. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.